morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. This is the Anthony Gargano Show on a Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. And we're brought to you by Rite Aid. That's right, your neighborhood pharmacy. Visit your local Rite Aid today. Stock up on allergy relief. Catch up on immunizations for RSV, shingles, and more. Walk in or schedule an appointment at riteaid.com. Well, we got lots to talk about. The fighting Phillies continue to roll. We'll get into that in just a bit. But I want to start with something a little more esoteric. I want to start with something a little more big picture. Because we are entering a very crucial period of time for both the Flyers. We'll have Charlie O'Connor coming on a little bit later on to talk about the NHL draft lottery and kind of look at the offseason and where the Flyers are. And, of course, the Sixers. Daryl Morey spoke yesterday. And just the cliff notes, obviously Joel and Tyrese he wants to keep, along with Nick Nurse. Duh, right? We get that. He also wants to keep Ricky Council. I like that. And Paul Reed. Okay. All right. But it's about roster construction, right? When we think about the draft and the process and we think about players, we just got done with the NFL draft. The one thing you cannot see is in a player's heart. Like, we can all look at talent and say, wow, I mean, look at what happened on the field or the floor, right? Look at that. But what you don't know is a player's makeup, right? We're the fan. I don't care how educated you are, how much film you watch. You don't know because you don't talk to the guy, right? Like, you don't know what's in the guy's heart. So last night, and this is a beautiful juxtaposition, I'm watching the playoffs, and I'm watching Indiana. And by the way, how in the world do you call a moving screen in that spot? Oh, come on, refs. Talk about giving the Knicks a gift. It was disgusting. But more on that later. I'm watching Jalen Brunson again play his heart out at Madison Square Garden. Look, if they're not the 2001 Sixers, I don't know that that team will ever be replicated. It completely is Iverson and a bunch of heart guys and role players. And I say that meaning our friend from Villanova, the Villanova Three, as they're called, with Hart and DiVincenzo, who both played a huge role last night in that win for the Knicks. But I'm watching Jalen Brunson, and like every time they need a big shot, every time they need it, he's dying on the floor, right? Jalen Brunson, dying on the floor. The unlikely superstar, right? No one thought that Jalen Brunson was a superstar. And then he goes to Dallas, and all of a sudden he plays co-star to Luka. Knicks gave him all that money, and God bless him, he's a true superstar, a super, the way our friend Jimmy Lynam calls him. And then that game took place in Madison Square Garden, not far from Madison Square Garden in Manhattan was the Met Gala, a huge high society affair of fashion. And lo and behold, at the Met Gala, who do we see but this man? That's right, in that crazy Project Runway getup, Ben Simmons, wearing an overcoat, 70 pounds of clothes, carrying a briefcase with a clock on it, all right, with his colored, I guess that's rosé colored glasses, right, looking like a cartoon character, right, like a Project Runway reject. And I'm sure in fashion circles they go, oh, look at that. He's right off the set of A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. But I found it fascinating that Ben Simmons is at the Met last night while Jalen Brunson is at Madison Square Garden leaving his heart on the floor. And that, my friends, is the tale of the athlete who wants it and the guy who was born on third base because of genetics. And listen, I loved Ben Simmons. And I'll still contend that if Ben Simmons had a heart, had a soul, had a love for the game, he could be great. But he didn't. And he doesn't. And so he dresses up in costume at the Met while the NBA playoffs are going on. Forgive me for being harsh, but isn't this what we talk about when it comes to sports? Doesn't Ben Simmons owe God that he was blessed with that sort of DNA to be able to achieve what he needs to achieve? Listen, not everybody loves what they do or lucky enough to love what they do. I stepped in it, right? I love it. I love what I do. All right? Not many people have that opportunity. You're blessed at 6'10" with amazing athleticism put together like a Greek god. How do you not want to achieve the pinnacle of your career? It's mind-boggling to me. It's completely mind-boggling. But this is the lesson when it comes to players, when it comes to draft and roster construction. You got to know what's in the guy's heart. Unfortunately, I never talked to Ben, right? I never talked to him when he was coming out. I just saw him and went, wow, my man has incredible court vision, fast, what a handle. Who thinks that the guy just doesn't like basketball? But it's clear. He'd rather be at the Met rubbing, elbows with the fashionistas than be at Madison Square Garden for the playoffs. And that's the tale. And this is what Daryl Morey and Danny Briere, you need to figure it out. You need to figure out what's in the guy's heart. Whether it's Josh Hart or Jalen Brunson, you see that they die. They're dying to win. And I look at it last night and I go, man, this is it. This is the revelation. Can you see into someone's heart and how much they care? Amazing. What a juxtaposition in the same vicinity in Manhattan. You know who has it? Bryce Harper has it. That's right. I look and I watched him yesterday and he hits the moonshot and, goes oppo. And you see it and you watch him and you go, the dude just gets it. He's the anti-Ben Simmons, right? Like, he's everything you love. Poor Mason Black coming home from the Lehigh Valley, gets beat up a little bit last night. We'll talk about it. But his first at bat, he fooled Bryce just a little bit. And then the next at bat is when he stays back on that pitch and then drives it over the left field wall in what just is a display of greatness. So here we are fighting. Speaking of greatness, they have now won 17 of 20. All right? Think about how hot, torrid that is. 17 of 20. That's the first time they've done that since September 3rd through the 24th, 2010. Those were the days of Doc Halladay and Cliff Lee and all that amazing stuff. So they've won 17 of 20. I mean, it's pretty wild. They've won 6 in a row. They've won 10 out of 11. They have won 10 straight at Citizens Bank Park. They're 25 and 11. Another 4-game sweep. They have a 3-game lead in the National League East. The first time since May 31st, 2019. And they just don't look beatable, right? Yesterday, we watched Zach Wheeler, and what a great day. It was bark at the park, all the dogs, and our lovely Julia, our executive producer, she brought her dog to the game yesterday. It was awesome. Monday afternoon, right? Watching an incredible team like your Phillies. What a gift that we're going to have over the summer. Once again, you saw Wheeler just make quick work of it. He just looked utterly dominant from their rotation through their everyday. Schwarber home run, Bryce home run, timely hitting. After Logan Webb, they take care of Mason Black. Speaking of Mason Black, so Mason was making his major league debut. And he looked good early, too. He's got good stuff, the kid. All right? He's going to be a player. He's from the Lehigh Valley. His family, his dad, they had a whole crew come down to the game. If I told you I loved it, I love those people. I was rooting for him. I was rooting so deeply for him. And look, I wanted the Phillies to win, which they did, and I was glad the kid had some early success, right? It was one of those things where I always root for our kids from our region. That was a big deal. To make your major league debut and family and friends are there to celebrate Citizens Bank Park, Phillies fan growing up. I mean, it's a great story. It's a great story. And look, the kid's got nothing to hang his head about. This Phillies team is a juggernaut. So, no shame. He held his own, second time through the order. Look, a team like the Phillies that can rake like that are going to touch you up a little bit. But his journey's just begun. And I want to salute his family. I thought that was a beautiful moment. All those people there to celebrate the kid making his major league debut. In fact, JP said to me earlier, could you imagine? And we all like to do this, as whether it was us growing up or us as parents, you start to muse. It's like winning the lottery, right? You go, could you imagine? And JP said it. What if Massimo was making his major league debut at Citizens Bank Park? You would have a whole crew there. Oh, are you kidding me? I would buy up half the stadium to be able to do that. It would be amazing. Good morning, JP.
Buenos dias, cuz. Listen, if Massimo was in that situation, you would buy out CBP, and it would be freaking awesome. But that's cool. Like sports, we always talk about.
Well, you said that. You're like, what would you? I'm like, yeah. And you're allowed to dream.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, but you're allowed to dream and think about it. And that's the beauty of it. Mason Black and that family, the kid's dream came true. There's a ton of terrific talent from our area. Our area between baseball and football.
Oh, yeah.
All right? And the Villanova 3 has really, you see our mark throughout Major League Sports.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, listen, I don't bring up Zach Gallen, but Zach Gallen's the one that always comes here. He brings a big crowd out here as well. But it's really cool seeing Mason Black, especially with the family. They interviewed him. Oh, because you need to get his dad on here. His dad, you could talk some shop with him. He loves the baseball.
He's unbelievable.
Great interview.
Well, I loved him. I fell in love with him.
Yeah, yeah. And, it's crazy. Like, he grew up with a Roy Halladay fan. Like, they brought that up as well. Him pitching in TBP. Like, it's freaking cool. Like, we always talk about sports. It is an emotional thing, right? Like, there are so many emotions that go through sports. And, in that situation, Mason probably grew up like in his elementary school, Diamond, and he's like pretending he's at CBP as a kid throwing.
Did we all do that?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
That's why, to bring it back full circle, it's so distressing. Julia, can you put that picture of Ben Simmons up there again? All right? Because that's why it's so distressing when you see this getup. And it's not, listen, I'm making fun because it's obviously it's a very dramatic photo. You're supposed to dress like that to Met. I wouldn't know, but that's what the Met Gala is.
That's what the cousin would wear.
But I'm looking at him with the clock, and he looks right off the set. I love that show, The Gentleman, right? Like
yeah.
He looks like he's a British monarch, right? He's a royal, right? He looks like. God bless him, right? But you think about this, JP. A cab ride away, or an Uber away now, in Manhattan, is the NBA playoffs. And here's Jalen Brunson, who is half his size, right? Like, Jalen Brunson is half of Ben Simmons' size.
Yep.
One guy is stealing from Brooklyn, and the other guy is leading the Knicks. And last night, listen, he saved them last night. So did Josh Hart and DiVincenzo. But the Pacers were about to pull the upset. He had to once again put them on his back.
Yep.
And I'm watching Brunson last night, and then that thing comes on my timeline, and I'm going, what? This is sports. This is like Philadelphia, like what we care about, and we got saddled. And that's why all this blame about Embiid has to stop, right? Like, he's unlucky. He's grown to be a dominant force, all right? Yeah, he gets hurt, all right? That's being unlucky. But he cares, all right? I watched him care. He cares. He got saddled with Clockman, and he got saddled with James Harden, all right? The two most eccentric players in all of the NBA. He got saddled.
Yeah.
All right? He didn't get Anthony Edwards. Cat got Anthony Edwards. I'm watching Anthony Edwards last night. I go, I love this kid. 22 years old.
Yeah.
He's just people's faces. He's a baller.
He's a dog.
He's a baller. And I implore Daryl Morey and Danny Briere, when you're filling out this roster, JP, look what's in the ticker. Look how much they care, because that's been overlooked during the process. And you know what? There's this school, all right, just a couple miles out of city limits.
Yeah,
all
they
right,
produce those type of players.
that have heart. Jay Wright, who will be on the show Thursday. Those players, all right? Those players care. See DiVincenzo last night? He was dying.
Yeah.
Josh Hart, God bless his soul, right? Dying to win. While the other guys at the party, hors d'oeuvres, wearing a clock.
Because we talked about it. I mean, this Knicks team is not the most talented, but what they have is that heart that you're talking about. And that's why we'll see. I mean, it's a 7-game series, but obviously game one, they took care of business. But
It's not even that. You know what, brother? I'm sorry. I don't even interrupt you. It's not about wins, loss. It's just about watching athletes just grind and care. That's why we love sports.
That's
why
100%.
I respect them. I respect these Knicks. I do. I respect them. I love those kids. Just as a fan of basketball, I respect those kids.
Yeah.
All right? And guess what? I want to see them succeed. By the way, it's popping off. All right? We always love popping off with
I love
Pop.
it. Cuz ready to ball himself. Let's go.
Yeah.
You put the shorts on?
Nobody would see that. Olipop. Find your favorite Olipop flavor at your nearest Wawa.
Well, I mean, you bring up the good point. We had Ben, right? He's out here at Met Gala. We had James Harden. He's having his fun out in LA. And who did we replace both of them with? Tyrese Maxey, cuz. And that kid has heart. That kid wants to win, and that kid cares.
Maximus.
That's right. That's right.
Maximus.
And so when we're looking for these athletes, yes, I mean, obviously, look, you can find these type of players at the top of the draft. You can find those players in the second round. But yes, like you said, it's all about that build from within. And obviously those Villanova kids, listen, those weren't highly recruited players when Jay Wright was scouting them, but they went through the school of basketball, the Jay Wright School of Basketball, and this is what you're seeing. You know, it's so funny, like seeing Ben Simmons now. Like it's funny now. Like now I can laugh.
Yeah, I mean,
but because he's not a Sixer,
right?
But by the way, let's bring this up. Why has he missed so much basketball over the past couple of years? I thought it was a bad back, cuz.
Yeah.
And he's got like 100 pounds worth of clothing on. Like,
you know, I mean, listen. Yeah, obviously the guy doesn't want to play.
That's insane.
He just wanted the money. Just wanted the money to live that lifestyle. I mean, that's just what he is. He just doesn't care about, like, he's just was born. And every once in a while you encounter someone that's a physical freak, right? That just hit the genetics lottery, right? You just win it. You're big, you're strong, but you don't really love the game.
No.
Like, clearly, he didn't love the game. He don't want to care about the game.
He loves the lifestyle. He doesn't love.
And there's a lot of guys like that love the lifestyle, that love what it brings. But truthfully, like, what is he other than an influencer, right? Like, and a bad one at that. Because who would he influence? You would influence him not to play basketball. Like, you know what I mean?
I can't wait to watch the workout videos this summer.
Oh, the lab?
Oh, man.
Stay out of the lab. All right? I don't want to hear it. I'm sorry. It just struck me. I like, here's like Manhattan, and here's Madison Square Garden, and here's the Met Gala, right?
He wants to be
and
at the
I'm
Met.
watching the NBA playoffs, and I'm watching Brunson and Hart and DiVincenzo, and then I'm looking, and then later I'm watching Anthony Edwards. And by the way, they just never can't win. Minnesota will sweep them. That's a sweep waiting to happen. They're going to sweep them.
That's crazy.
Jamal Murray's not 100%. They're done. That's over. You got on this side, right, at the Met Gala is all the fashionistas and Ben Simmons.
Benny boy,
That's wild.
It is absolutely wild. That's what gives me hope about the Sixers here, because like 2 years ago, I didn't think Minnesota was going to be in this situation where they're talking about sweeping the reigning champs. Did you?
Well, what a great job he did, right? Like, if you look at what O'Connell, the GM, what they did, Gobert, and it's funny, that was another thing we got to discuss.
Talk about that, yeah.
We'll do that in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
They missed the game last night for the birth of his child.
They still killed him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That Nasreed, baby. No, I mean, and Cat had a monster game. But if you look at like Karl Anthony Towns, right? Like, Cat was a guy who everybody thought had fleas. But then you give him, he's a 4, right? Because you bring Gobert next. So people said, that was a horrible move. You get Cat.
Who would have thought?
And then, it all revolves around Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Without Anthony Edwards, because he's the true dog. He's the true alpha on that team. Cat is a secondary guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Talented, great shooter for a big. But let's face it, it's Anthony Edwards' squad. And then a bunch of guys who play defense.
And that was the big
who
part.
are well coached.
Yeah, that was a big part. It is his team, and it feels like everyone just circling
22
around
years
him.
old. Oh, my God, I love him.
I'm not gonna lie. I did think that they were pulling another Al Horford, Joel Embiid when it happened, but their Cats and Rudy's game does complement each other very well.
Yeah.
And obviously Anthony is just playing his ball. It is absolutely crazy.
We all silly like the mayor.